Hello, traveler. You look weary and hot, so this video is for you. If you are an aware person who pays attention to your surroundings, who sees the in-between, the big picture, the patterns, I'm sure you're having a great time because I am. And by great, I mean wild. For me, the end of spring is doubly sad because the flowers that I love are gone and the sun of summer is fast approaching. I've had great success in the past few years managing my climate anxiety, but this year, the Balrog I have feared for 5 years has finally arrived. In Lord of the Rings, it was called Durin's Bane. On Earth, we're calling it the Godzilla El Niño. So in the interest of 1, talking about it to raise awareness, 2, providing some resources and mindsets that helped me, and number 3, settling my own creepy anxiety, I thought I'd share some of the things that worked in my own journey of dealing with these feelings that honestly, no human should have to deal with. It's extremely unfair for us to have to suffer the consequences and deal with the effects of the previous generation's neglect and inaction because there was plenty of time for people to do something about it. We were warned. For us to have to grow up quickly or, in some cases, not have a childhood at all because the people in power are clearly not interested in our collective well-being. I feel a lot of rage for my own future, but I feel so much more for the kids who will never know the peaceful world that I grew up in, climate-wise. So first, I'd like to acknowledge that there is deep grief and rage associated with climate anxiety. People like to paint it as, oh, it's just emotional or you're sensitive, and it's like, yes. Beyond our many religious beliefs, all life on this planet is connected by a oneness. I talk about it all the time because it's so important. There is a spirit that flows through everything here, even the mountains and planet Earth herself. When you know of this connection and you learn how to tap into it through whatever means you do, like meditation, prayer, exercise, when you become informed of what's going on in the world, the grief that you can feel is immense. Earth herself is suffering, nature, and we are connected to this mother of life, whether we acknowledge or not. So it's a lot to take in. And this was difficult for me because after I saw the geochemistry of it, the math, the biophysics of it, plus humanity's fairly poor track record, I couldn't really ignore the reality right in front of me, just unfolding into what was literally hell. I became trapped envisioning this future that's based on heat and scarcity, and then feeling like crap, and invariably materializing scarcity for myself. For good or ill, our minds are very powerful. You become your most thought thoughts and your most felt emotions. So it was really hard to pull myself out of that because my logic and my rationality told me that it was a dead end. I didn't know it at the time, but I had been indoctrinated by colonization to dismiss spirituality. The true one, not the one that my Catholic religion told me. And I remember a really big turning point in challenging my rational and logic views of the world that were damaging me was by reading Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. This book and this concept, they did a couple of interesting things for me. Like first, it shone a light on the present moment and how everything happens in the now. It seems simple, but it's one of those things that the more you think about it, the more infinite it becomes, and then it makes you feel so foolish for thinking that it was ever simple. Eckhart also talked about multiple religions and their understanding of the present moment, how spiritual and religious masters throughout history eventually hover around the same universal truths, that just expressing them in different ways. Through that, I reconnected with Jesus. I know, stay with me. And I saw him now as a philosopher of love, and a fairly stoic one at that. An enlightened human being with immense amount of wisdom into spirit. I recognized that my hatred of God was mostly a lash out against the institution of the church that tried to control and shame me as a child. This sparked my mega beef with the Catholic Church and colonization, but it also started to set me free from the mental cage of my upbringing. Being in the now, present with nature, it made me realize that God is real. It just didn't fit the white man in the sky form that I had in my mind. It was formless in everything, the force behind life. Feeling this connection felt very soothing, and it helped with my anxiety of the future that I had. It's really interesting how so many things can be illuminated over concepts that seem so simple. Now is all there is, and presence and stillness, which is just sitting there and doing nothing. And that's because when we stop moving, when we notice the now and calm all of the sensory inputs that we get from living life in a fast-paced world, we get to hear ourselves. We hear the things that our brain repeats to ourselves subconsciously, and we feel the things that our body is trying to tell us, but that get drowned in the chaos of modern life. You get these glimpses of something that exists beyond the material. You realize that you are a drop in the ocean and the ocean itself. And that's why meditation was one of the things that was really important to me, because I had done research on it, papers on it. I watched so many masters of their craft mention that it was key to their progress. Logically, I knew it was a good thing. I just never did it. I actually started with mindful yoga because the idea of sitting there doing nothing, it seemed too boring to even contemplate. But then I read another book, and it gave me the scientific, measurable understanding that my cynical brain needed to understand things, to believe things. Becoming Supernatural measured the psychological changes that happen during meditation, and it gave me like a scientific visual for the human bioelectromagnetic field. My practices in Qigong and Wing Chun actually had already told me about this, but this gave me the scientific vision of it. And I needed that at the time so that I could fully commit. This was step 2 to overcome my colonial rational mind: meditation. Step 3 was learning from indigenous people, their connection to nature, their knowledge of spirit and life force. I started looking into ancient cultures. What were their knowledge, their belief systems? How did they interpret life on this planet? What did they discover? More and more, the oneness of all things became evident. This realization that we are more than just our physical individual form was known by basically everyone that came before us. They all explained it in kind of a different way, but the consensus was that the human mind, intention, consciousness is the most powerful force there is. The transcendentals of authenticity, kindness, polarity, unity, beauty, and goodness also seem to have something to do with it. You can listen to it yourself. Here's a video of an elder teaching. She is also called Turtle Woman, and this talk just changed the way that I saw so many things. I am always in such awe of the wisdom and grace of indigenous elders. I often imagine a world that we would have now if the colonizers had worked alongside the indigenous people, learning and respecting them, growing on the food forests that these people spend millennia cultivating, especially here in North America. But no, they decided to feel intimidated by their connection to nature and invent a reason why they were inferior, and then pervert the word of God to grant them divine right of violence and conquest. Absolute waste. More than ever before, indigenous people are the last and often only stand between Western society and our exponentially growing obsession with self-destruction. And all of that seems just too big. I had all of these thoughts of I don't matter, I'm just one single person against this giant, worldwide, ancient network of greed, cruelty, and power. And then I read this book, yes, there are many books, called Fluke by Brian Klaas. It just shattered the bubble that I had on what was possible for reality. It showed me that you can never know how far your actions and words reverberate in the world. So walk every day as though everything you do can change the world, because it absolutely can. I also read this book while watching the show Foundation, which I highly recommend. It's not really canon with Asimov's book, but the concept of psychohistory is very interesting representation of the collective unconscious of humanity, especially in how it accurately predicts the big patterns of the collective, but it can't really account for small individuals that cause immense change. It helped give this really nice, fantastical representation of what Brian Klaas was talking about when he said, you don't control anything, but you influence everything. So a small parenthesis here, I believe that art, human creation, books, music, movies, stories, paintings, they are all channeled from consciousness. And so they have this deeper meaning embedded in them, sometimes beyond even what the author intended or the artist intended. Sure, some person imagined it, but that imagination is attached and influenced by the collective, both materially and spiritually, mentally. From masterpieces of human creation, you can glean insight from this collective unconscious. Even if the setting is a fantasy world that supersedes the material constraints of our life on planet Earth, imagination and consciousness are infinite and unlimited, and it's something that we all have access to. So this book and this show were a powerful combination for me to realize just how much our intentions and actions can change the world, even in, and maybe especially in, the small things that seem insignificant. So that whole concept paired with some incredible acting, breathtaking aesthetics, and heart-shattering musical score, please, it was such a great time. Also, they always find a way to get Lee Pace shirtless on screen, so it's a win for everybody. You gotta watch it. Because I have that belief that all masterpieces of art are an expression of universal truths that are channeled into the material world through a human state, focus, intention, another book that greatly influenced my mindset of your actions matter more than you know was Lord of the Rings. It really is so interesting to see so many masters in their fields just describe this channeling. Tolkien said that he was often surprised by the stuff that happened in his stories, like he saw Strider or Aragorn just sitting in the corner of the Prancing Pony before he knew who it was. The idea already existed and it was just sent to his hands to make it material. Michael Jackson, the most powerful aura and performer, entertainer, artist that this world has ever seen, I actually have a video on this exact topic here if you want to watch it, but he said he channeled his songs from somewhere up there, something he called God. Bruce Lee also, he talked about channeling, but his experience of it was the full expression of your body and mind through your movements, your fighting, your dancing, your art. There's a huge emphasis on art in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, which I actually have right here. Very good read. But yeah, so many of the masters talk about this channeling from consciousness to create incredible things that mean something in the material world. Inspiration and imagination happen in source consciousness, out there. It's not really contained within our bodies, we just seem to channel it through the state of flow. Lord of the Rings feels to me an incredible channeling of this source. You really have to read it yourself and witness the unfolding of the story, the growth that is in the journey, the truth, the wisdom, the lessons, and the guidance that are contained within those pages. I'm rereading it now, and it's so mind-blowing, especially with the whole techno-feudal oligarchs naming their society-collapsing companies and organizations with names from this book. It kind of really hits home more than I ever thought it would. The entire story is a lesson on how to defeat exactly this sort of supernatural, overwhelming evil that you almost can't believe is real, but is real. And Star Wars is the same way. These stories teach us to follow what we know and feel is right, our heart, right? Even when you're scared, even in face of insurmountable odds. They teach us to believe in the power of love and family and fellowship, trusting that Eru, God, the Force, it rewards authenticity, bravery, and all of those do it align with nature because nature is God, Eru, the Force. These stories, they teach us to commit to walk the way, even when we don't know where it will lead, just trusting that things will align to see your mission complete. The most unlikely of people in the most unlikely of ways can take down ancient and unimaginable evil, aided by the way itself. It's powerful stuff and true. Evil gets a heavy first hit for sure, but the arch of history in a kind and loving universe can only ever bend to the side of morality and goodness. Evil never truly wins because it has no real goal, right? Even if it's allowed to overtake everything, it quickly destroys itself. That's obviously less ideal than stopping them before they get too far, which I am happy to announce humanity has already started, but I hope we crank that up very soon. Because as I said in the beginning of this video, the Balrog is here. And I just want to do a hater break here to say that Peter Thiel, yeah, he poses as Sauron having already conquered and subdued Palantiri, Andúril, Erebor. He has a whole bunch of companies named by Tolkien. But in reality, he is more like Saruman conjuring illusions to make him appear to be more powerful than he actually is, which, let's be honest, he is really powerful, but he is not Sauron like he wants to believe, okay? I just wanted to make that clear and reclaim the work of Tolkien a little bit, okay? Let's move on. So I gave you 3 books, and that's enough books for now. But dealing with these feelings of anxiety and grief, it's a journey. These stories and these mindsets, they helped me envision a world beyond the Matrix, right? Beyond what the rules allow us to imagine, beyond these constraints that don't necessarily need to exist. All change has to start from within us, then come out. And come out they must. Truthfully, that is the most powerful anti-anxiety solution there is. Action. Go join the group. Go plant the tree. Go meet up with your neighbors and your friends. Go talk about it. Go see that there are already so many incredible people working incredibly hard to bring the good timeline of Good Earth into fruition. Go notice that nature wants to survive. It wants to thrive. It helps us. Go experience the random bits of magic that start to happen around you when you align with your authenticity. Ignore what the outer world is telling you is possible or realistic. Just embody your true self in everything you do. Action is the antidote to despair because it forces you to interact with the world. You end up seeing that there is so much more good and potential than there is evil and limitations, and that most of those limitations are fake or arbitrary. We can easily imagine a better way. We just have to bravely face the dysfunctions and then do something about them. There is so much value in standing up, even if you're by yourself. But trust me, you won't be by yourself for long because light begets light. Good people join good people. And being in the middle of light is the best thing that you can do to counter the darkness. So thank you for watching all the way to the end. I hope this helped soothe a little bit of that anxiety or gave you at least some good books to start with, having a different mindset that could help you like it helped me. But everyone is going to have a different reaction to the climate crisis, right? Depending on where you live, what you're most vulnerable to, these things really matter. So if you'd like to chat about this in person, if you have any feelings you'd like to share or any questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to either drop a comment or send me a message, and I will be happy to talk to you. Stay safe out there, hydrate, and remember that you are so much more powerful than you realize. And that is your greatest weapon against all despair. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video.